So, in addition to their pedagogical coursework, they have clinical experiences. It's a 4-semester sequence, 201, 301. It would be nice if the final clinical was 401, but it's not. It's a department specific. They have all kinds of different numbers. So I just went with final clinical because we don't need to be confused. And then student teaching. And then how many of you, just a great show of hands, how many of you have worked with a student teacher from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences before? Okay, so then you all know that we link that final clinical and student teaching, so it's a year-long experience. So ILAS 201, and this is like well, I think I want to be a teacher, but I haven't really been back to high school since I graduated class. A lot of our students haven't actually been back to a middle school or high school since they themselves were students. So this is very introductory. We require 30 hours of observation with 1 or more assigned cooperating teachers. And right now, because that license is 6 through 12, they do half of their hours at the middle school and half at the high school. They also do 10 hours of tutoring or working with struggling students. And then they have an on-campus seminar component. Actually, it's taught out at DeKalb High School, so it's not on campus. There are 7 face-to-face seminar meetings. We discuss a variety of topics, including professional vocabulary, tutoring, collaborative meetings, RTI, lesson planning. So they meet as a whole group. They usually have a presentation, and then they break into smaller groups, discipline-specific groups. And those discipline-specific groups are taught by practicing 612 educators. So we have some fabulous teachers. Mrs. Baum is actually one of them, who are very generous with their time. They come and work with our pre-service teachers and run those small seminars. So, how many of you had our early clinical students? Maybe? All right. I've found in working with teachers over the years that it gets kind of confusing from your end, like, well, I know they're a clinical kid, but where are they? And why are these ones different than these ones, different than these, right? Because they're obviously not all the same. So I like to provide a profile, kind of, and it's the exception that makes the rule. So obviously all of our students don't adhere strictly to this profile, but generally speaking, an ILAS 201 student may not have been back in high school or middle school since they themselves were a student, and that is intimidating to them. I mean, they won't admit that, right? But they're nervous. Some of them, they are dressing up as professionals for the first time, so this is, new ground for them. They range in age and level of experience. So we have a fair number of traditional students who would be juniors in college. We also have a fair number of people who are, they either have a degree from somewhere and they just are coming to NIU for the teaching license, or they actually are changing careers. They've been in the business world, but teaching is their passion, so they're just coming back for the teaching license. So there's a whole range of students in that initial clinical. It is usually the first professional school experience the candidate has had. So a few of them have paraprofessional experience or have worked in after-school programs, but a lot of them, this is their first experience being not a student and in a position of, I don't want to say authority, but a position of being not a student. The assignments are geared towards that understanding. So we want them to interview the cooperating teacher, do a lot of observing. We're not requiring that they actually teach a lesson. I think they'd be intimidated, but you can always ask them to start a class for you, do kind of that warm up or that hook. They'll look like deer in headlights, but just push them out there. And then the lesson planning assignment that they do, which is on the drive, so I'm going to have you guys look at that in a minute, is really about the cooperating teacher's lesson plans and how the cooperating teacher is implementing those. And again, that's because they haven't ever watched a classroom from the perspective of somebody who would be wanting to duplicate that. They've watched classrooms as students, and when you put on that pre-service teacher lens, the classroom looks very different. So we don't actually ask them to plan their own lesson in 201. We ask them to do some backwards lesson planning, so watching the cooperating teacher and then planning their lesson based on that.
Is that an assignment for them as well?
It is. And I'll actually put it on the drive. I'm going to have you guys look at that at the end, but yes. So then ILAS 301 is the next step. So they've done 201, they've done their observations, everybody says yes, this person shows the appropriate enthusiasm, and we think that they have potential, so we move on to 301. In 301, they're assuming the role of a teaching assistant and guest teacher. All right, so the goal is that they would be more actively involved in the classroom. Now, that doesn't mean that they're teaching every day. Heavens no. For most of them, this will be the experience where they teach their very first lesson. We require 50 hours of clinical observation with an assigned cooperating teacher, so they do 25 at the middle school and 25 at the high school. And then they teach a lesson in each placement. And we leave that up to the cooperating teacher. Some cooperating teachers have the candidate plan their own lesson to teach, so you give them the topic and say, this is what I want. Other cooperating teachers say, well, why don't you teach the lesson I'm teaching, I'll model it once, and then you do it. Really, it's what works best for you and what you think will be best for your clinical student. So don't think that we have a lot of requirements there. We just, really the requirement is getting them up in front of the classroom in the role of a teacher and speaking words. Hopefully that makes sense. The seminar component, candidates have 8 face-to-face seminars. They talk about the middle school student, the Common Core and the Illinois Learning Standards, the Danielson model, student motivation, resume writing, and lesson planning. And I know you're thinking, resume writing? That they're teaching their first lesson, why do you have them doing resume writing? And I agree, but, and this is why it's useful to understand the way things work. When they're in ILAS 301, they are applying to student teaching because it's that year-long experience. And so we need to have them thinking in terms of how to present their experiences in a way that would make someone want to work with them for student teaching and eventually hire them. So I agree, it is early to be talking about resumes, but they're writing their student teaching application, and so really they should be writing their student teaching application like a resume. And then we also have the discipline-specific small groups run by practicing teachers from local schools. So they attend the large group seminar and then they break to talk with their small groups more in depth. Yes, question?
As I'm reflecting on that, and I'm thinking that when most student teachers come into a classroom or to work with a teacher, they want to maximize their time and just spend the 6 hours a day with you or whatever. And I'm thinking, if this is their first experience, why is it a good idea to have them absorb into one class that you teach and spend those 25 hours in that one class getting to know that one set of students, rather than, you know what I'm saying? And then that would give them maybe that more richer, in-depth opportunity to really get into the content and maybe have a relationship with some of the students. I don't know.
I think that's excellent. Again, our approach is really we want what's best for the cooperating teacher and the cooperating teacher students, but also within the constraints of the student's schedule.
And they usually have a time frame in which they have to have.
Right, they have a time frame in which they have to do the observation. So because they switch from middle school to high school, they're in their placement either the first half of the semester or the second half of the semester.
Okay, so it is the semester.
So it would be half of the semester, and then they also are taking classes on campus. And over the years, actually, just even in the 10 years that I've been here, I've noticed a staggering increase in the number of students we have who work, sometimes even full time, because that's just the reality of the world that we live in. And having said that, that is not to say that you should cut them breaks or allow them to behave unprofessionally, because we would never want that. But I think it helps to understand the whole picture when you're trying to work with them and set up a schedule. But yeah, I think that would be excellent if you're open to that and the student is available.
4 or 5 days versus, like 2 periods, you know,
Right, absolutely, and that would be a conversation that you would have with the clinical student and say, you know, this is how I feel you're going to get the most out of my classroom. And that's perfectly within your right, that's exactly why we want them working with you. You know your classroom, you know your students, you know how they're gonna have the best experience. Excellent question, other questions? All right, so they've completed 40 hours of observation and tutoring in the previous semester. They still range in age and level of experience. By this point in the program, they have all been officially admitted. All right, that means they've passed their test of academic proficiency, they've met the GPA requirements, they're good to go. They are more comfortable in a school setting and in having a professional role, although they may still be a little bit reluctant. And typically they are very nervous about teaching that first lesson, but they should also be excited. Do y'all remember your first lesson? Mine was horrible, but I had a great time. And the students were very kind. And I knew then that I wanted to be a teacher. So yes, they're very nervous about that first lesson. So, any questions? You've had some great questions. Does this help to kind of see like the whole, I know it's so confusing, but it does help when you see the whole picture. All right. So what I would like for us to do right now, and I said take 20, but really if you only need 15 or you need 30, that's okay. We'll just play it by ear. I have the lesson planning assignment from ILAS 201 and the lesson planning assignment from ILAS 301 and the Common Core assignment from ILAS 301 all on the Tuesday folder of the shared drive. And I'm going to ask you for your help here. Based on what you know about the clinical sequence that I just explained to you and about the profile of our clinical students, what can we be doing? How can we be changing these assignments to better guide our teaching candidates on how to implement the Illinois Learning Standards? And the reason I need your help is quite simple. I was not in a classroom when the Illinois, I mean, I was in a classroom here at the university, but that is a very different thing. I was not on the front line of public education when the Illinois Learning Standards, Common Core, Next Generation Science Standards, C3, when all of that was rolled out. So Vicki talked with us yesterday about all the unpacking and mapping and everything that's gone on. I was not a part of that conversation. So you all have an incredible insight into how you have essentially taught yourselves to implement the Illinois Learning Standards. And I would like you to use that perspective to help me help our candidates learn how to implement the Illinois Learning Standards. So, my more specific questions are, what should they be learning and at what point in their preparation? So, right now, they learn about the Common Core and the other Illinois Learning Standards in the second clinical experience. It's entirely possible if you all say, you know what, really, it's so pervasive, it is everything that we do in schools, they really need to know that the minute they're stepping foot in a classroom, then I'm happy to move that to the first experience. You guys are the experts on this. And then, are there resources you've used that have helped you implement the Illinois Learning Standards that would be available to these pre-service teachers? Is there somewhere I should be steering them? So those are your questions, and your work product I'm going to ask you to actually create is your own group-specific version of the 3 documents that I referenced. All right, so the 201 assignment and the 301 assignments. All right, and your group, you can just go by your color.